Okay, now, if the students, you need to hear the students more or something, you go here, preferences,
Oh,
and you see where it says audio?
uh-huh.
This is the output coming from the student.
Okay.
Boom, to be real loud.
Well,
Now,
it's,
this is the input of the mic here.
which is fine. They say
Yeah.
they can hear me. I
But
just
what
can't
you
hear
do
them.
is you just move this, and you know, you gotta be careful, because,
It could be bomb.
yeah, because
All
it's
right.
real loud or not.
All right. Let me see if anybody's in class yet. So it has this little function of the waiting room, which I don't like, but which I keep trying to.
Yeah, I kind of like the waiting room.
You do?
That way they- You know, you don't have 10 people talking and, look, there's somebody, yeah.
Hey, Bria, can you do me a favor? Can you talk?
Yes, ma'am.
So we can't hear her because she's this. Yep, so I get that little signal. Yeah, we can't hear you, but don't worry, Bria.
Try it now.
I turned her way up. Try it again, Bria, say something. Anything?
Hello?
Oh, that's better. Give me one more hello.
Hello?
I mean, it's better than.
Yeah, it's coming from.
It's here though, or it's down
Hold
here.
on. So we're going HDMI. So this might be a different setting we need in here.
Samsung. So it's going there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, someday we're gonna get the sound fixed. So do you have your little names? No, I'll bring you more. I can't bring.
It should be going to here. The
Right.
sound should be going to here.
But does this thing even have speakers?
Yes, it does. It's a TV.
Oh. It does.
And that's why I was, look, you see, it should
Okay.
be,
Oh.
try to speak again.
Say hello again.
Hello?
It's coming from here.
Yeah. Thank you for being our tester, our technical help.
No, yeah, but that should be what we should be getting from her.
Let's maybe Bria's mic is fine. Oh, yeah, you got it.
Okay, now wait,
Say hello again. Oh wait, don't say hello
Okay,
yet.
try
Don't
it
say
now.
it. Go ahead.
Hello?
Better.
Try it again.
One more hello.
Hello?
That's great. All right, we're done. It's fixed. So now, you can mute yourself.
Okay, so, look, can you say something again?
Oh no, I mute. Yeah.
Say something again.
Hello?
Yeah, say it again.
Hello?
Yeah, you see, it's giving up the sound to here. That's why you can't move that
Yeah.
thing.
So
So we
this
have
is
to-
now where I'm going to control sound.
Yeah,
I'm going to turn her down a little. One more hello.
Hello?
Perfect.
yeah, that way everybody can hear, because if you're coming through here with the shield, no matter how loud you got it, they couldn't hear.
Oh, they couldn't hear anything, and I could barely hear them. So I would it's so ridiculous. They're probably so sick of seeing my face up there going,
Hey!
Yeah. So it is on the Samsung, and it was in the preferences on the HDMI, right?
Right, but I think once we set it, it's gonna stay set.
Okay. I think,
But until somebody messes with it.
where was it though? The settings, sound.
Look, sound,
Sound.
you do the sound,
Someone's gonna mess
and then it should be the Samsung,
input. The input's always been fine.
your input's fine, Samsung. See, it was,
And I never.
and
messed
then
with
look, right here on the, let's see, the speaker. Where did I find that? Here. You see,
HDMI.
this is where the problem was, right here.
That was the.
It was on this,
I never actually went to the
it
settings.
was on the speakers.
Yeah.
So not only do you have the computer settings, but you have the Zoom
Moodle.
settings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm.
So you must be zoomed in right now.
I'm
So
zoomed
that's
in,
it.
so I'm gonna, oh,
What
they
else?
couldn't even see me. That was good.
You
Hey,
want
thank you
this?
so much. You were dismissed. Thank you, Mr. Glenn. You have saved the day. All right, so that should make being at home a little easier so that I can hear you. Usually I can only halfway hear you. So everybody at home, don't forget to go to chat and say you're here. Zoom does something at home that I didn't realize. You guys, if you're more than 20 minutes late, it doesn't let you in. I never set it that way. But that's why every class is recorded. So if you're more than 20 minutes late, when you're on a Zoom day, then just look for the recording in YouTube. It'll be there. I upload the class every day. All right. So we're gonna get started in 1 sec. So if you haven't read the personal narratives, please do that. So please write your name and so that for some reason the mask is making me not remember people's faces. I know you are, so I'm locking it out. I don't know who you are. So I want to know who you are. If you don't have your little name tag, please. Okay, so people at home and people here in class, I wanted to remind you to check into chat. We are going to start today with a writing prompt. So unless they emailed it to me within the last 5 minutes, I didn't receive one. So let's see whose date it is. So today would be Nellie, who I don't see in person and I don't see in Zoom. So this is a nice reminder of what happens when you miss your writing prompt. You can miss it one time, and then after that, it goes to a 0 in that category that you did not bring in a writing prompt. Okay, another thing I want to remind the people in Zoom, it's that could you please put your name in chat so I can see who's here today. One last thing about the waiting room. I keep trying to fix the settings in Zoom so that there is no waiting room and that you can just come to class, but it must be something that is at the university level. I cannot make the waiting room go away. You have to go into the waiting room. And if you're 20 minutes late, then Zoom won't let you in either. So when you're late, you should go to YouTube and watch the class, which I upload every day. Okay, so I had asked everybody, and today's probably going to be a bit of a short class unless Nellie shows up with his writing prompt, because we're not going to do the writing prompt. And we are going to talk about your personal narrative, which is due on Monday. So you have all weekend to write it. And we're going to give these examples. So I'm going to put the breakout people, I'm going to put the people at home into breakout rooms. So 2 rooms. So before I put you in your rooms, I want you to discuss both of the personal narratives, what grade you would give them based on the grading the grading guidelines, the rubric that has what an A is, what a B is, what a C is, what a D is, what an F is. What grade would you give these personal narratives? I also want you to discuss whether you think these are final drafts or first drafts. So first, what grade? Second, what draft is this? And third, I want you to say a thesis for each. What do you think the theses are? So the plural of thesis is theses. So I'm going to put you guys in your breakout rooms. It might be the same people, it might be different, doesn't really matter. And answer those things. So what grade, based on the grading evaluations that are in Moodle, whether you think it's a first draft or a second draft and why, and what you think the thesis is. So pick one person who's going to be your speaker in your group. And finally, we're going to actually hear you today. So are there any questions in Zoom land about that? Or is that pretty clear? Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so you guys, same thing. So why don't we have 3 people over here, so like Lainey, Tiffany, Bronson, and then you 3 are going to discuss the pieces of writing that you, oh, I've got Anya who's not in a group. Okay. So discuss the pieces of writing. So Anya and Drew, you are the latesters. You're not in technically you're not in a breakout room, but you 2 can work together and you can do it either on chat. Yeah, you can do that on chat. Or you can unmute yourselves and talk to each other and we'll hear you in the background, but that's okay. And so you're answering 3 questions. I'm actually going to write those 3 questions and make them visible to everybody. So when you work with your partners, you are discussing the 2 personal narratives that you read. So you're discussing, let me make this visible. Yeah, so you guys can definitely get with your partners. Okay, so you're discussing the 2 personal narratives. What grade would you give them? And let's make that plural. What grades would you give them? Based on the grading criteria. Based on the grading criteria, what is your reason for giving the grade? What draft? Do you think it's a first draft, second draft, third draft? What draft do you think this is? And finally, what are the 2 theses? So plural thesis is theses. Okay, Drew, Jaden, and Anya, can you guys hear each other? Will one of you unmute yourselves so I can kind of figure out if you're hearing each other or not? Okay, so I heard you unmute yourself, Jaden. Thank you. Can you, Drew and Anya, can you chat? You know how to do that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you guys, or if you can hear each other, you can talk to each other. We'll hear you discussing it, which is okay. So do it whatever way works for you. And since you're late, Jaden, that's what you're supposed to do. So let me pass to everybody in here. We're gonna just explain that. And I'll give you about 10 minutes to work on that. Okay, so you can join either group, Ebony, either one is fine. Is Dayton here? Dayton, no. Is Ronnie here? No, Ronnie, I don't think Ronnie's ever been here. So you guys should be talking to each other like they are.
Okay, so for this, for this personal narrative, I would give him like a B.
I had texted in the chat. I don't know if y'all saw it or not.
This first one, right here.
Alexis, you're here, right? Yes. And Naya is not here, correct? Naya. No. Oh, sorry, Naya. I apologize. You are so here. And Evan is here.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, I agree. Now, what are the two pieces?
So everybody, don't forget to pick the person who's going to do the talking in your group. One of you is going to explain the grade and what.
True, man. Well, that's true, but here's the reason. True. Yes, I would give that an 8, but yeah, I would give both of you. Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. I would give the second narrative essay. I would give the second essay an A. Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. I would give the second narrative essay. Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. Yeah, I can agree with both of y'all. I would give this second paper an A because it all flows smooth, but there are a few mistakes. But naturally, she's got all the sentences flowing with a few mistakes. So, and I think this will be the second draft. The second one? Yes. So are the two the same? So are,
I can see the second one being final draft because it doesn't have a lot of mistakes. There are some cancellation that says, you know, other than watching.
right? Right.
Or
Or the two,
That sure reassures me that I'm not crazy. I can't hear you, I can't recognize you.
I can't hear it all.
Yeah, it's crazy. I use French, and it is just like, they don't, the students don't know what's going on, I'm like, pulling my mask up constantly. Oh, this pandemic just comes to an end.
The first one we did is a, kind of like an 8 Yeah.
and final, or the two pieces.
The second one I like is the, I don't know, she walks. Well, I guess not.
So I keep hearing you say a lot more mistakes, but if you look at this, if you look over here, so let's go to, you would have to show me in the grading interpretations where it says a lot of mistakes bring down the grade. And it would have to, so to bring it down, it would have to be really central to one grade over another.
Where'd you get that from?
So this is in your syllabus as well as right here in the documents and important stuff. It's the first thing. So you should be basing your grades on this. Because it does matter if there's mistakes, but it's never something that is, I'm not going to say there's a bunch of mistakes. So your grade is one grade or another. Okay, does everybody have a speaker in their group? The person who's going to do the speaking? You guys? Okay, so does everybody who's in a breakout room, you guys have your speaker? Who the person is that's going to do the talking? So, give it 20 more seconds. So when you're deciding what grade, it's all fine and dandy to say, well, I really liked it and it flowed. But notice that flow is not a criteria consideration. Mistakes, there's a lot of mistakes, is not really in there. There is something that approximates mistakes. We can talk about that. So let's start back in Zoom land. So who is in group, the breakout group 1? Should have paid more attention. Do you guys know when you're in 1 or 2, breakout room 1 or breakout room 2? Okay, Zoom, I'm gonna I'm gonna make yourselves visible to me in a different way, and I'm just gonna choose somebody. So how about, since I know that Zaire follows directions really well and often volunteers to speak. Zaire, do you mind unmuting yourself and, telling me who your speaker was?
Hello,
Hey, Zaire,
can
what's
you
up?
hear me?
Really, really well. Perfect.
Okay, so I was in breakout room 2, and I'm pretty sure our speaker was either Brianna or Bria.
Okay, so, Brianna or Bria, will one of you unmute yourselves? And
It
let
was
us-
me.
Brianna, so what you got in terms of,
Okay, we said that both of them, we gave them a B
okay,
because both of them still had a couple things that could be fixed. They weren't perfect, but they were pretty good for the most part.
okay, so let me stop you there. Let's go to, everybody can see the grading criteria? So where does it say, a paper has to be perfect? There's something like that. But it's not, the word isn't perfect.
Excellent.
Excellence. So let's put it like this and see if you agree. You felt that neither one was excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then what grade would you'd say a B? So
Yes, ma'am.
very
For both.
good, not excellent. Okay. So what were the specific things that kept it from being excellent?
Okay, in the first one, they had a couple things I noticed throughout.
What were the things?
Like the word choice could have been a little better. They still had a couple mistakes that I've seen, like
Let me
circle
just
and
make
stuff.
sure I remember. The first one is the one about the girl who was brought up by her grandmother.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you saying there were a few mistakes and there were some issues with word choice. Do you have an
Yeah.
example? It's okay if you don't.
Wait, what did you say? It cut out. I couldn't hear.
Give an example of a word choice that could have been better.
Let me see. I don't have one in particular. I just felt like it could have had more like a college level, I guess you can say.
Okay, so it does say that the writing style is appropriate for college level. However, this is a personal narrative, right? So it's personal. So I think it's appropriate. All right, so you're in the category, which I can see the B. I can see a B, okay. I can see an A. Let's see what another, let's just stick with you, Brianna. So what did you say about paper number 2, the one about the person who had a horrible child?
We went back and forth between a B and an A.
Yep.
So I honestly don't know.
You see,
We said B, but after talking about the first one, I kind of feel like it can be an A now.
so you see the problem that I'm faced with every time I read a paper. It's really hard to tell sometimes whether this is an A or a B. Okay, so I'm not going to divulge what the grades were. Let's move on to what draft did you guys think? These are both a draft. Do you think it's first draft or second draft?
We said a rough draft because of like the added in like commas and stuff.
That's me. So I do that. So you think because I marked it up, it could be a first draft? That makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean we have to edit it after. So
Good point. Okay, so can you say what the 2 theses are for both papers?
my revival one, we said the last sentence of the first paragraph But the first one, we were not sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at that. So we know that often inexperienced writers will make the first sentence of the last paragraph their thesis. So let's see if this student did that in my revival. Quite frankly, I was never one to share anything about my life with my friends and family, much less my teachers and professors. So if she said, and now I'm gonna do it, that would be a thesis. But she doesn't. Instead, she goes to a new topic. So here I am again in a new English class. However, is that a horrible problem that she doesn't say, and now I'm gonna do this? No, we understand. So the thesis, I think, in both of them is fairly, so this one we're just gonna get out of the way. In both of these, the theses are implicit. It's implied. So in my revival, we understand that this person had a horrible early life experience and that she has revived. Do you know what's crazy though? So I get to know the students over the course of the semester. In my revival, who does she thank at the end of the paper? No, not her grandparents. So this is the paper that's about the trials and tribulations. And at the end of the paper, she says that it's her great uncle. Let's see.
It's her aunt, uncle, and then just her siblings and her got fostered by another family.
So she thanks the great uncle and aunt. Thankfully, my great aunt and uncle decided to adopt my older sister and me, while our other great uncle and great aunt and uncle adopted our twin sister. So it's a crazy story. Like, I had to read this several times. Her mother was killed by their father while her mother was pregnant. The babies were born. Like, that's a crazy story, right? And so, so I got to know the student, and the reason I block out her name really clearly, the other one, the name is sort of important, I realized later. It's because I got to know her, and then she had a total falling out with this family. And she said in the course of like the beginning of the semester to the end, they never wanted me. I now realize that I am basically homeless. I cannot live with these people. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, so crazy story. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to, and I'm gonna explain to you at the very end when we talk to everybody what the grades are that I gave them. Everybody's on the right track. So who was the speaker for the other group for breakout room 1? Sounds like Bria wants to say something. Do you, Bria? No?
I was just yawning.
What? You were in?
I was just yawning.
Oh, you were yawning. Okay. What group were you in?
I was in group 2. She just spoke.
Just both. Okay. So Jordan, Jaden, Drew, Mia, who wants to talk? Shamara, Dayton. Let me check down here with, let's see who Dayton is, who I don't remember. Dayton, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Hey Dayton, what group were you in?
Group 1. It
Okay.
was the audio, I wasn't even in it. Like, it wasn't even working.
Oh, you couldn't hear each other?
I couldn't, no, man.
So, all right, let's move on from group 1. Yes, so I don't know what you guys said. Just remember though, the more I know who you are, the more I'm likely to say this person is a great participant. Okay, so I'm gonna mute you, Dayton. So group 1, I don't know what happened. What about that group that was like the outlier? So I'm gonna unmute you. Drew, what happened with you and Anya, where I asked you to chat? High flex, it is so ridiculous. Okay, well, I'm not getting an answer from these guys. So from this group, let's go back to those questions. And I'm just gonna share the questions again to remind you. So we'll say the in-class people. Who's your speaker? Alexis. So when I say the more I get to know you and your name, the better, that means I know Alexis's name, and that is good. And she has volunteered to speak, so that's awesome. Alexis, what you got? A B. So you gave the first one a B about the grandmother. Why? Why?
Just another thing that more variable things and a lot of competitiveness.
Oh, you guys get so hung up on those grammatical mistakes. Yes, both of them do have, neither one is error-free. It is true. But Just Another Day has a really cool title that made sense. And then in the end, they conclude by explaining how her name from her mother drives her crazy. But she makes this whole little cool story about her name. So I kind of like Just Another Day. I'm not saying you're wrong or right to give it a B. But I do hear from them and from you. So you guys are like, there's a lot of errors. Yeah, there's a lot of errors. I'm not going to tell you until I hear from them. You said B for Just Another Day and an A for the one about the difficult. Yeah. Okay, so why for that one is it better?
Because they have less mistakes and also it sounded like polished.
It sounded more polished.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just
Again, there's no polish in the grading criteria. If you look at what makes something excellent, it doesn't say polished. We polish our nails, polish. I get what you're saying. I'm giving you a hard time, but try to stick to, like when you said it sounded appropriate for college level, it seems like a college narrative. There are some mistakes, agreed, in both of them. Okay, what drafts did you think both of them were? Second draft, okay. And are there theses? Can you say what the main idea is of both of these papers?
Yeah, Just Another Day, it was about how my grandmother was, he said he was the second, last, since the second paragraph, he said, my grandmother's was one of her greatest inspirations, her best friend, it just, yeah, it's why she liked her name, her nickname more, than her real name.
Yeah, I think that's the thesis. Right, good.
And for the other one, he said it was implicit, it kind of just went with the whole essay.
Yes. Now keep thinking about what's an A or a B, especially since you said this is the thesis. And there's a clear thesis. Okay, so last group, who's your speaker? Okay, Tiffany, what did you say for the grades?
You both said, at first you said they were both A's, but since they're not error free, they're both B's.
Okay, so they're both Bs, and why? Why are they Bs? Based on the grading criteria, why are they Bs?
Because they're not error free.
Okay, so everybody has focused on that one thing. There's a lot of mistakes. They're not error-free. So is there any other reason that it should be in the B category? Yes.
Okay, so in my opinion, I think they're both A's, because, like, I feel like, even in a final job, like, no matter what, like, everybody's gonna have errors somewhere. And to me, there's not a lot of errors in either one. So I believe they're both A's, and I believe they're both A's.
You nailed it. Lady got it. Yes, they're both, I gave them both A's. Rereading them a year later, because this was fall of 2019, I was like, yeah, they're really B's. However, why do you think I gave them both A's?
Because they were great.
They're very good personal narratives. They're so personal, especially I feel like the one that is about the grandmother. Not only is it so personal, but it has this cool little game of her name throughout it, which is creative. Now you might also say, wait, creativity is not in there. It's true, it's not, but it helps make good writing, good writing. It's super original. Yes, Ebony.
So you gave the first paper an A?
I gave both papers A's. A year later, when I read them this morning, saying to myself, self, what grade is this? I was like, these are B's. But it's the very first paper that a freshman turned in. They conform closely to the assignment, both of them. So let's look at those. Let's look at what an A paper is. An A paper is original and insightful. So insightful is a hard word to define, but it means, it's sort of like the idea of literacy. They understand something about themselves. It shows awareness of audience, purpose, and situation. So I think that both of these are perfectly fine for personal narrative for each other. You guys are your audience, so it shows awareness of who's gonna read it. It has a purpose and a situation. It's a personal narrative, and they're writing about personal things, or a college narrative, especially the other one that's about the hard family situation. I think, what was I gonna say? She has some insights about writing and why this is hard to write about. Like that one, I feel like it shows some insight. But I think they both show insight. Insight's really hard to define. We'll go back to it. But these are the most important things, that it's original and insightful. Do you think either one of these students made these stories up? They're totally original. Okay, it's focused from beginning to end, including engaging introduction, coherent and logically organized paragraphs.
Dr. White,
Yes.
the thing is frozen.
Oh,
We can't see what you're
you can see it? Let's try it again. So I'm trying to show you the grading interpretations. Do you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry about that. Okay, so the logically coherent, organized paragraphs in the paper number 2, they're not so logically organized. It's all over the place, but it has a substantive conclusion. It does have an introduction. The introduction starts by talking about writing, which is what I'm asking you to do because it's a literacy personal narrative. So she is really following the directions, even though it's a little bit all over. Both of these are written in consistently standard edited written English. I will show you, if you want to know what somebody who doesn't write English as their first language looks like. It does not look like this. This is standard English. We understand. Anybody who speaks English in America could understand these 2 papers. The writing style is appropriate. I follow that when somebody said like, it doesn't quite seem college level. I don't know, I give you guys a lot of breaks because you're freshmen. They definitely both had some issues with precise wording and concise wording. I didn't notice that the sentence structures were like boring from beginning to end. They transition. I think that paper number 2 is a little bit weak on the transitions, whereas I feel like paper number 1, it makes sense from beginning to end, how she connects with her grandmother. She does not with her mother. Her mother sends her to the uncle. Like the story had connections. And then she goes back to her grandmother. And then what happens? Grandma dies. It sucks. It makes me want to cry. Okay, so the only thing it is not, it's one thing. It is not error-free. But the rest of those things are in there, right? Everything else, but it's not error-free. So notice how you guys are like, there's mistakes, there's mistakes, there's mistakes. And only Lainey said, yes, there's mistakes, but it's really hard to get the mistakes out. That is true. When I do drafts, 1, 2, 3, 4, there still can be mistakes. When people publish something professionally, they have an editor who goes back in and fixes the mistakes. Mistakes happen. Did your high school teachers tell you that? Yeah, good, that's good. Okay, so I gave them both A's. So all the people who gave them B's, for all I know, you are right. These are B papers, because that's what I felt this morning. But why am I more likely to be generous than stingy on your first paper? Yeah, like I'm gonna knock you down, but think back to that other paper that you read for Wednesday about Katrina and the girlfriend. That was the first draft. That was a mess. That was a D. He wrote it again and it got better. It might have even been a B. It might have jumped from D to B. That was not a particularly good draft, but it's okay. The first draft is okay. Okay, so I'm going to say today is a short class because we did not have our writing prompt. I'm going to remind the person who has the writing prompt on Monday. If you would be so kind, that would be Dayton. It's your day on Monday, so please email it to me so that when we're in Zoom together, I'm not like, Dayton, are you there? Because I won't be able to just post it for everybody because we're all going to Zoom on Monday. So does that make sense, Dayton? Can you give me an affirmation of what I just said?
Yes, ma'am. You want me to post it Monday? I mean, you want me to send it to you before Monday because we all gonna be in Zoom.
So I can post it so when we Zoom, there it
Yes,
is.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to say, if anybody has any questions about their personal narrative, please let me know now. And if you do not have any questions, you are welcome to go on your merry way, and I'm happy to work with anybody who sticks around. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to show everyone one more time where you upload your paper. So you upload your paper for Monday where it says, where it says assignment 1, the personal narrative. You might want to go back and read what it is again, the personal narrative. And you upload it here where it says paper 1, personal literacy narrative, first draft on Monday. And remember, we're going to go back over this on Monday because it's not due till midnight. And I see that 3 people have uploaded it. So the way it looks for you is going to be different. I can show you, I think, what it'll look like if you're a student. Yes, it says add submission. So add submission, you upload your paper, and I'll remind you again. So anybody in Zoom land want to talk about, have any questions about your personal narrative? Okay.
Wait, I have a question.
Okay, who is that? Is that Brianna who talked?
Zaire.
What's your question, Zaire?
So I made like an outline before my first draft, and I kind of like laid out what I was gonna say for each like paragraph and like, you know, how I'm gonna tie it up together, but I'm just struggling on my thesis.
Okay, so it's okay not to have a thesis on your first draft because sometimes you don't know what your thesis is until you've written the paper. So I encourage you to just start pounding out the paper, reread it, and then say to yourself, what is the main point? What is the main idea I'm trying to get across? And then
Okay.
incorporate that in there somewhere.
Okay, thank you.
But, anybody else have a question from Zoom? No? All right. You guys have any questions? No? All right. Well, if you have no questions, you're free to leave. Have a great weekend. Work on your paper. See you on Monday, only on Zoom.